All right, we are recording. So continuing in the omnibus here. Second to last Saints and Sinners story in here, The Underdog, written by the Saska sisters, Cliff Richards as interior artist, Marco Palandra as colorist. Reigning world champion of the SSWL, Randall Tuna Calhoun, refuses to relinquish his belt, intentionally injuring all of his opponents, causing a catastrophic business dilemma to league owner Genghis G. Gao. Someone needs to face him at this season of Smash event, and they need that wrestler now. Get ready for a career-defining slobber knocker in the ring that you'll never forget. And then we get the letter here from the Saska twins, who start off kind of with a history for them, because they grew up watching wrestling, loving wrestling, and eventually they got the opportunity to actually work with, it would have been the WWF at the time. This was prior to the name change to WWE. Because they actually got to work. Okay, so they got to watch at the introduction of the Kane storyline that's mentioned here, and they later, so that was WWF at the time, maybe in WWE when they got to work with it, which they thought was awesome in part because they got to work with Glenn Kane Jacobs. Those became fans with a lot of people. They also have done some horror films and things like that. So basically, a whole bunch of stuff coming together. Then they get to work with Eric July on the Rippaverse, and one of the characters that he created, because it is in fact in ISOM 1, is the guy Larry Shungite. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm just going to call him Larry because I know how to pronounce that one. And I had to look back. So in ISOM 1, Lincoln, I'm pretty sure it's ISOM 1, the head of Projexis, he's going to some event, a wrestling event, and you do get, it's completely an aside, but you do get Larry walking in and him talking about how, he lost something last night, but he's here to get it back, presumably the title. So this would definitely be a precursor then to ISOM 1, based on that. So just sharing that. But it basically talks about here how they really liked Larry, a wrestler who doesn't take shit and carves a path for himself. Sounds like a lot of our buddies and of buddies of ours. Sorry, our fellow wrestling fan coworkers. Oh no, sorry, that gets into the next sentence. But yeah. So they liked Larry, even though very much introduced just a side character at the time. It seems, not really important there. Not entirely sure why you'd necessarily do that, but in any case, why you introduce him there, give him as much attention as you do. But then also, I'm not enough of a sports person that I would want to be like, hey, let's do this. So that's in part on me. They are very much into wrestling, so it makes sense for them. And if Eric July is as well, it makes sense. Hey, I need some event. Why not have it be wrestling? Because I love wrestling. Makes sense. That's just not how I am. Anyway, but still, because of Larry being there and they like that character, when they got the opportunity to do a Saints and Sinners short story, it's like, yeah, we'll work with that. We'll work with that character. So then we get to how the story actually starts off, which is, hang on. I'm trying to remember. There was something. Hang on. I'm trying to remember if it was in where. I think there was somewhere a mention about Larry having disappeared for a couple of years. Okay, there it is. Okay. So let me get back to the beginning of this. So the guy currently, with the title, Randall Tuna Calhoun, so Big Tuna or King Tuna at times he's referred to as, and this guy's out of control in a dangerous way. And it's like, I'm not a wrestling fan, but how he's depicted here, he that out of control, exactly how you would describe him, because he basically, the way he is presented is he knows he's the top dog, and he doesn't care about the sport, even, is how I'd put it. So he has matches that, yeah, he's supposed to win them, but he doesn't mind seriously injuring his opponents. Like the one depicted here, he picks up over his head and throws him down in such a way that it's actually on his neck, such that, very serious injury, potentially career-ending. It's also mentioned he broke tidal waves, so a different guy, his leg in 3 places, and another guy might never wrestle again because of how badly he was injured. So yeah, this is quite bad, and he the asshole is basically just, not everyone is built for this business. It's like, no. Well, yes, not everyone is built for this business. You're not built for this business. Even I recognize that, because it is a business. It's a sport. You're not actually supposed to be trying to hurt them in a sport. You're supposed to be trying to defeat them. That does go along with injuring them potentially. But to intentionally injure them, it's... They should be searching for some way to get rid of him. Because he is dangerous. And I would like to believe, I think that's the best way to put it, I would like to believe that even fans seeing this would be like, no, we don't like the guy, such that we don't have this, if he wasn't such a draw, I would fire his ass. It's like, ideally, no, he's actually not a draw at all, because everyone can see he's dangerous. And it's kind of like this, because one thing that I have learned, and it does make a lot of sense, if you go back even to the Roman Empire and Roman Republic with gladiator matches, they very rarely result in somebody's death, because there's no benefit to killing your opponent in that. You want them alive, and you want them fit to fight again, because it's a business. It's like, you're investing time and money. You don't want your guy to be lost, because that's a huge loss to you if they're killed or very seriously injured. And that's going to be the same for everyone. So there would be sort of a gentleman's agreement, at least, that, yeah, we don't go that far because there's no reason to. There was no benefit to doing it. And it's also, I'm like, but the crowds want blood. It's like, the crowds want entertainment. You're the one that decides where the limit is on that. Now, yes, there were people that were gladiators and such that were killed in the arenas. That is true, but that was not the goal the bulk of the time. It's one of those interesting things that a lot of the history has been sensationalized, and also Hollywood doing its thing and just not necessarily caring. Anyway, so because he just keeps knocking people out, such that they can't be in an event that's coming up in 2 weeks, the season of Smash, which he's going to be, his match would be the headline. No one wants to do this because he's just hurting people. And at this time, lady wrestler named Robin, don't get a last name, she's just walking by backstage, and Gao, and I'm actually not sure who this other guy is. It might be Lincoln, I'm not sure. Because he's not... There are some elements of him that look the same, but the artist is definitely different, so different style, so I really don't know. I don't believe he's ever named. But in any case, I mean, it's just... The only reason why I'm thinking it's Lincoln, it's not even that it looks kind of like him. It's that I always felt it weird. It's like, why is this head of Projectus, this head of and founder of this technology company, going to a wrestling match? And it was he had an obligation to, is how it was even described. So it's like, okay, he's somehow like partnered with that, but why? Where did this seemed non sequitur? So that's why I'm thinking, okay, this might be the explanation. Or at least it connects to the explanation that no, he's been involved with it for a while, and might even be at least an advisor to the head of the group, head of the company, which is this Zhao guy. But he walks up to Robin and is like, look, you scout somebody, I'll give you $10,000. That person, if they can work, another 10 for you. So it's, yeah, she'll do it. We then cut to inside of the Shanghai residence, where we see Larry being... I'm basically just a good guy. He brought food for his nieces and nephews. And this is his dad's place to clarify that. But it's, just, here you go. And, yeah. No crusts, Uncle Larry. Crust makes champions. Eat everything so you can be strong. I love the crust, so do I. Good job. So it's... And I do like this, because it is presenting that he is legitimately just a... And also, can't... It's time for him to go out back, because he's very independent. That's where Robin is... Robin was basically told, just find somebody indie that will be in there. It's sort of a Rocky kind of situation, except they went... I'm trying to remember. Yeah, no. That was a public thing they wanted to do, and then just looking through the files on different boxers, they found him. But it was publicly stated, whereas this is not so public. Might be in part because of the well, no, it makes sense, but it also might be in part because it's meant to be only 15 pages. Anyhow, yeah, he's just like, yeah, he's got to go out back for this very, backyard ring fight, very independent. Can we watch Uncle Larry? Don't know if that's a good idea. Grandpa says it's okay, just don't tell your parents. So, yep, and one thing about him is it's also like, he's supposed to lose here, but that doesn't mean he will. And I mean, to be fair, I can believe that this guy that Larry's basically just he knows he's strong. He doesn't need to prove it. But if you start disrespecting him, he's gonna prove it. So when he goes in there, and he's like, you got the announcer people, which one of them is the mother, it seems, of the other guy. Georgie Gold. So he's in there, and it's, yeah, I know, we just do. Larry's like, yeah, I know, we just need to do this stuff. You win, yeah, whatever. But the color commentary is the whole, just kind of insulting Larry, which, I mean, yeah, technically that's fine, because it even makes a point a little later that Georgie is a babyface. So basically, he's supposed to be the hero. He's supposed to be the clean, pristine guy, which would make Larry, which would make Larry the heel. So he's supposed to be the villain. But Georgie, it's like the bell hasn't even been rung yet, and Georgie already attacks him from behind. And it's like, nah, you don't, Larry's, you don't disrespect me that way. So he knocks him out because, like, he has the skill, he has the power to win. He just doesn't need to. He just, doesn't really need to show it off. It's just when it's called for. Also, before I forget, it is in one of the announcement things, the color commentary. He did disappear the last 2 years and came back looking huge. We call that steroids in this business. It doesn't count for shit, pardon my French. That's how it's actually written. Well, don't write out shit, but I don't mind putting that in. So I'm actually uncertain then if it is steroids. Because it is, we have a universe here with superheroes. Maybe it's just something with that's going on, or something else is happening. But in any case, he busts the guy up well enough that he's taken away in an ambulance, which, I mean, depending, I could just see that also being precautionary. I mean, it's not that he's actually that injured. It might just be he was knocked out, which means, yeah, we don't know what's necessarily up. We take him to the hospital. Well, Robin is there and sees this. Which also, I just want to mention this, because she's, I'll actually use that shot. That's Robin. See how she's dressed up? That's just how she's dressed, and it just seems odd that it's like, hey, I've been, assigned the job of trying to find an indie wrestler. So instead of changing into something more street appropriate, now I'm just going to go out dressed like this. I mean, it just seems odd, and it is something I notice in part because in like various television series, more so in television series, you'll see somebody wear the same clothes throughout an episode, even if it doesn't make sense for them to still be wearing the same clothes. Just like this, you'd expect them to change. Well, in that case, it's either to maintain a visual continuity, so they're readily recognizable, or it's low budget, so they they can't afford to have costumes for every single change. So you won't necessarily see that happen as much in movies, but it can also happen there. Anyway, she came not actually to see Larry, but she did. It's because Anthony Diamond Shungite, so Larry's father, trained her. So she came to see him because, like, he's gonna know, indie talent. It's like, saw Larry, so it's like, I want him. He'll do it. Pops, she's asking me. I'll do it. I mean, it's just kind of funny. We then cut to the training center, because, the three of them are now there. And Tuna is just, even against his sparring partner here, he still is just throwing the guy around because he doesn't care. He doesn't care, which makes him very, very dangerous. And yeah, so it's basically, Larry, this is what's going to be happening. You're going to be going up against him in 2 weeks. Think you can be ready? Sure, I'm ready now. And then just some trash talking between them, which I do wonder a little bit how true that is, because my understanding with some of these competitive, one-on-one competitive sports, whether it's wrestling or other things, the trash talk both is and is not real. Even for the same two people, it's both is and is not real. Where they do that, they're not actually trying to insult each other per se, but to psych each other up, is my understanding. So yeah, you would do, not necessarily here though. I mean, this is in part just establishing that these two do not like each other, even from go. But in some cases, I'm pretty sure it is, they will do, and they'll do that in public because they have to maintain the character, but it's also, they're psyching themselves up because you are going in there to hurt them. It's like, you need to, your goal is to defeat them, your goal is to dominate them, you're going to end up injuring them, and also being injured. You need that hatred, but you need that anger, but it's also when the bell rings kind of thing, you also can turn that off. Is my understanding for some of these. It is turning on, turning off. Anyhow. But yeah, Tuna is just, I mean, he's an asshole. So then Larry gets in the ring to go up against the same sparring partner who's not really holding back against him, and it's like, it's possible that he just sees it as, well, for one thing, he's insulting Larry's dad, which, that sounds so good, but it's like, I mean, come on, if you can't stop me, then you ain't got a chance against him. Almost like I have to beat you up because I'm protecting that guy, protecting Tuna. And yeah, it seems like that until, Larry just throws him like he's nothing, even though the dude is much larger than Larry. Then we get a page basically priming for there to be a relationship between Larry and Robin, but at the same time, Larry's not being stupid here, I guess is the way to put it. Where she does acknowledge, to her credit, I mean, she's being honest here, that's like, yeah, I found you for the money. But, yeah. Yeah, besides that, I know a good thing when I see it, and I know trouble when I see it. Ha. See you bright and early, girly. It's Robin, tough guy, and don't forget it. Couldn't forget you if I tried, honey. So I do appreciate that, because there would be some people and some stories where, no, they just have him dive right into a relationship right away. But this is like, you got the tension here. So it's like, it's possible, but they're not diving into anything at the moment. So I do appreciate that. I'll probably forget to put that into the review because but right now I'm just working through this. So it's like, next day, Larry comes in, and by the way, just, I think I'd said it before, I don't remember for certain though. Tuna's to win. Okay, he is supposed to win the event. That Larry's just there basically to make sure that there's a good show, or that there is an event, there is a show. So Larry shows up, And he's like, here to rehearse. And Tuna is literally sitting at a table with lobster or shrimp in front, and like silver platter kind of stuff, right? Wine glasses, all that, and two bimbos. I mean, actually, wait, no, I take that back. Don't think I should necessarily say that. Because just the appearance of one of them actually makes it look like one of the Saska sisters. But still, it's like they're just ladies fawning on him, okay? I mean, it's like that's what these two characters are. It's a little funny that it does. Now that I'm see that profile there a little bit more clearly. Do we see, are they earlier in this? Oh yeah, a little bit there. It is just a little funny that it does kind of look like they may have had themselves drawn in that role. But I mean, it does make a little bit of sense. But he is like, nah, I'm not going to rehearse. I don't need to. And but we've got a match. How am I supposed to rehearse on my own? I don't know, and I don't care. But it's also, he keeps getting Larry's name wrong. It's like Harry, Terry, and things like that. So it's like, Larry's just being disrespected. And as I said earlier, it's like, he doesn't strike me as somebody who, he understands that, yeah, I'm not supposed to win. That's fine. I'm just going to do the work, move on. But you disrespect him. And now he's going to teach you. And it gets even worse for Tuna in a way, because not only is he being disrespectful, but beforehand, it's like it's Big Tuna versus the Underdog is the event, the name for the card here, the name on the card. What's this Underdog crap? That's not who I am. It's who you are tonight. It doesn't matter. You can go back to being whoever you want to be tomorrow. Just sell and make sure you take the 3 count. But also, I only need you for tonight, Shungite. Give it everything you have so you can walk out of here without regrets. And hopefully you'll still be able to walk after Tuna's done with you. And this is Gao. Zhao. I keep changing the name. So the guy who's in charge, who's technically Larry, after making a puddle out of Tuna, could be like, hey, you told me. I was like, even at just this point, it's like, yeah, I mean, you told me. Give it everything I got. That's what he's going to get. And like when you just meet each other in the ring, Tuna's even like, you want to save me the trouble and just let me give you a few power bombs, take the 2 count, and we both go home early? What about the match? And it's like that again is just, you're disrespecting the man, you're disrespecting the work as well. And I'm trying to remember, because I know I've heard it before. Maybe it is just worker, but there is actually a term for people like, it seems like Larry is comfortable being. It's like somebody who, if he were at the gym, he'd be the sparring partner. It's like, yeah, I don't mind that I lose. It's like, whatever, it's for the sport. He gets that. It's not a problem. But you're disrespecting him and you're disrespecting the sport. You don't do that with this man. So Tuna throws him to the ground with the Tuna High Tide Power Bomb. And then is like actually trying to pin him, like using some sort of hold around his neck, and Larry just kicks him off of him and proceeds to then thoroughly dominate Tuna, such that it's like, what is this? Shungite's picking up Tuna like it's nothing. He's taking the world heavyweight champ on a ride. So that was the 2 commentators there. And yeah, he just annihilates him to the point that it's is Tuna even getting back up? And so he has won. He has the belt now, although I'm not sure if that's necessarily true. I'll explain that in a moment. And then he gets the mic. Larry gets the mic. You just lay there and enjoy your nap, Tuna. I've got something to say. I know no one wants me here. I know you think I'm not good enough to be your champion, but you deserve better than an arrogant, entitled, bloated lapdog. That's my boy. Yeah, Uncle Larry's the champ. I'm no underdog. I'm certainly no lapdog. I'm not all bark, baby, and now you know this dog bites. I might be done with the SSWL, but at least I got this lovely parting gift. This is my title. You can come and get it if any of you in this building ever grows a pair of balls. I'm out. And then he just leaves, and people are chanting for him. And so it's he does just leave, and they turned to Robin basically saying, we need to get him back because these are the highest ratings we've ever had. They love him. And like, yeah, because, I mean, he did too. Besides just being the champ, he put him in his place. Because as I said, it's reasonable that people would be known. Wait, he's injuring these people? He's an asshole. So it's like having the guy actually put him down like that would be, a lot of people would like that. Underdog stories, like, literally came from nowhere and is now champ. Maybe not. I'll get to that in a moment. And then it's like, he's saying, like, look, I'm done now. None of you know me. None of you care. That's fine. I got my belt. I'm leaving. There's also something about that. There's also something there that is somewhat charismatic. Okay, so what am I saying about the belt thing? Now, true, this is wrestling, different kind of championship and all that, but one of the pieces of trivia I know for Rocky that is actually fairly interesting is that technically in Rocky 1, even if Rocky had won the match, he was never a title match. It could not be, because the rules are you need to have had a previous bout. That you need to have had a previous win. So just beating the champ once isn't enough. You had to have done something first in the league. So Rocky being basically just a club fighter wouldn't count. You need to have actually done that. So it is an interesting piece of trivia in there, along with the point that he knocked down Apollo out of the gate. And basically, if he just backed up and stayed in neutral corner as he was supposed to, because he kept fronting on Apollo as he's on the ground, interrupting the ref from counting. If he had just backed up, Apollo was actually down long enough, he would have won from one punch, basically. But yeah, it is just one of those funny things with, man, I gotta watch Rocky. That's a good movie. It really is. And it's 50 years old now. That's a 76 movie. Mm-hmm. Such a good movie. And also, I do want to mention, with that, I don't know if I'll ever find a copy, but because Stallone wrote the movie, he also wrote the novelization for that. I would love to find that novelization and read it at some point. Yeah, I don't know where I'd find it, because some of those, they're out of print, so they're going to be expensive if you can find them, and they're not coming to ebooks. And I'm sorry, I would think that you would try to bring some of those novelizations to ebook. It's perfect there. But anyway, perfect there in that it you don't necessarily expect many to sell, so trying to have thousands on a shelf somewhere in a warehouse so that you can ship that doesn't make too much sense. But it's like for people who really love like the Rocky movies, it's like, wait, I can get the novelization on my Kindle, on my Nook, on my Couple, whatever. It's like, done. Yeah. Oh well, maybe someday they'll do that. But so what did I think of this? In the end, I give it a weak recommendation. I did enjoy it, but I will grant I don't have much of a connection to any of it. But I did enjoy it. And I am somewhat interested. I am somewhat intrigued by it, but I don't really care that much because of the whole. I'm not a sports guy. I'm certainly not a wrestling guy. So those aspects aren't necessarily can connect with me. I do like Larry, but there's also that element, looking back to see, like, oh wait, might this have been Lincoln? I don't, because it's like, well, how's the clothing match up? Oh wait, Larry is the former champion and is talking about getting, he lost it the day before. He's coming to get back. So, ISOM 1 would be potentially years after this. So, yeah, which is also unfortunate to me, well, in my opinion, because that's another story then. It's like, this is set prior to ISOM 1. Chasing Ghosts is set after Alpha Core, and yet it's where they are. Where are they in this? Well, about here. About here. ISOM 1 is up here. Alpha Core is back here. What the heck is up with this order? I don't know. I do not know, and I don't much like that. I do also want to mention something else that I did put in my notes, so I will try to remember this. It is a fairly recognizable and even formulaic story. I mean, it's like It's not that impressive. I mean, I'm making so many references to Rocky because a lot of it is pretty damn similar. But there's nothing wrong with that. Because, I mean, it never leapt off the page. It wasn't offensive to my eyes, basically, that it's like, oh, isn't it obvious? No, I mean, it's there, but it's still a well-told story. Because, I mean, I don't agree with the whole there are no original stories anymore. I think that that's a stupid cop-out that some people have, either to make themselves seem like, oh, yes, I'm so much more intelligent because I can just tell you that story is actually this story and it's actually this story. It's like, no one cares, okay? Yeah, sure, plenty of stories are similar, but you'll still see, hey, that's a good one. Hey, that's crap. It's the same story, though, so how can one be good and one be crap? Because it matters how it's told. This, I think, was told fairly well. Okay? Not necessarily great, but still told well. So, but yeah, I mean, it's. I'm sorry. I understand the basis there of breaking down. Very much an aside now from this. I understand the idea of breaking down stories to try to recognize certain structural aspects to them, foundational aspects to them, and then recognizing how they apply in various places. This can be useful for multiple reasons. For example, just finding the lineage of stories, because there are various stories like fairy tales that you actually see in many cultures that are near each other, but the stories themselves are somewhat different. But if you can find that, oh, wait, no, there are things that are similar here, it might be that there was a single story that they deviated from. So, you know, like trying to recognize it's sort of a genetic, the genetics of stories. I understand that. I appreciate that. That's fine. But to reduce all stories to, well, it's just one of these, I think they claim like 7 or something sometimes. Something like that. I don't quite remember. And the funny thing is, I have Hero of 1,000 Faces of that. It's been years since I read it, but that is one book that does have some of that, but it still is a badly told story is a badly told story. It doesn't, and a well-told story is still a well-told story. Doesn't really matter if it is similar to one story or another. I mean, I guess it's kind of a functional example. Romeo and Juliet, which itself, this other story is very similar to it prior to that, but Romeo and Juliet. If you had ever seen, man, it was many years ago. It would have been like high school, seeing the young Leonardo DiCaprio Romeo and Juliet that they did. And then if you see the movie Warm Bodies, which I know I've mentioned before, which is also very much Romeo and Juliet, but the setting is a zombie apocalypse, so Romeo's actually a zombie. It's like, so instead of it being the Montagues and the Capulets, it's humans versus zombies. And it's like, it's a little weird, and yeah, it's recognizable as Romeo and Juliet, but it still is actually kind of a good movie, and kind of well told. Not that well told, but still pretty good. But if you look at that Leonardo DiCaprio, it is so stupid because they basically did a word for word version of Romeo and Juliet, but they tried to just force it into modern times. So I remember one scene, I think it was Romeo's family. I don't remember for certain though. Like they're just gangsters. So like, you know, in the limo being driven and something happens and the father, you know, like wants to grab a weapon to go out there and start fighting. Well, what's he grab? It's actually a shotgun, but it has scrawled on the side, sword. It's like, because in Shakespeare's day, they were swords. They wouldn't have been guns. But it's like, oh, but modern time, we use guns, so we'll just name the gun sword. It's like, that is stupid, okay? That's stupid. I'm going to make fun of that. But it's like, Warm Bodies, it's like, no, they actually try to be novel there, and it is interesting. It's not great, but it's like, it's interesting and serviceable. So, yeah. Anyway, this I would consider better than Warm Bodies as far as the story that we're seeing here. It is better than just serviceable. It is better than that. All right, that's probably enough of my just rambling. So next up, let me look. One Little Push by Will Jordan. So that's a Critical Drinker. I'm just quickly flipping in. Okay, this could be interesting because it's got Darren. Is that the name? at least it looks like it's the guy that Isom had to deal with. Avery had to deal with. I just don't quite remember, but it does look a lot like him. So yeah, and then after that we get to the Horseman stuff. Yeah. Okay, damn. If it is the same guy, it looks like him. Looks like him. So that'll actually be interesting because there's still plenty more to go after this because we got the 2 Horsemen stories, Catch and Kill, Alpha Core, Blood Ruth, and then Dirty Deeds. But it just, I don't know. Part of what's been weird for me with this is how so many of the characters and such seem to be thoroughly independent from others. And it might just be, you know, the order that going through in this. But it's like, I don't feel like things were necessarily resolved with Darren from Isom 1 through 3, but... And also, despite how powerful he's depicted as being in Forest Park, he's not present anywhere else, it seems. He's just, that's an Isom only guy, and it's like, well, shouldn't there be a little bit more? But he's gonna show up in this, so maybe there will be some closure, or at least some more information that might be interesting, might be fun. And then I don't know, maybe with the rest of them there'll be more. We'll see. But I appreciate potentially getting to see Darren again, what he's doing or what he had done prior to Isom. Alright, as I already said, that is more than enough of my rambling, so see you next time.